Welcome to See What She Can Do podcast. I'm Tina Finelli. I'm your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Lisa Dunbar. Today, we're talking to guests Arienne Strong and Charlotte Batty. They are fellow outdoor enthusiasts. Arienne comes to us from Hardwood Ski and Bike. She loves to get out to the trails to escape or to find solitude. We're super excited to talk to her about the impact of sport on her life. We have Charlotte Batty here, and she grew up on two wheels. She's got a pretty exciting backstory, and she's going to talk to us today about the importance of community and getting people outdoors. Our session today really is to talk about the importance of play. And we get so ingrained in the work that we do that we sometimes forget to do that. And, you know, one of the silver linings around COVID-19, I think, is that people are getting out more. And we'll talk a little bit about what's happening outdoors and what you can do to get involved. So let's jump right in. We'll start with Arienne. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Arienne, tell us a little bit about yourself and how sports impacted your life.
Again, my name is Arienne. I am the program manager at Hardwood Ski and Bike, just north of Barrie, Ontario. And I have been a recreational athlete since I can remember. I was never really passionate about one thing growing up as a little kid. I would just play sports recreationally through school. The one thing I did follow, though, was competitive dance, believe it or not, throughout from about 10 all the way up to about 19. And then when I went to university, that kind of fell away. And again, I picked up just being active on a recreational basis. I grew up out in the country, so I've been on cross-country skis since I can remember. And I know we're focusing on cycling today, but I actually didn't find my cycling passion until I was in my 20s. I came to Hardwood Ski and Bike out of university and was introduced to mountain biking. And to be honest, I was scared to touch the rental bikes when I got here because I had never been exposed to mountain biking at all.
Well, it's fascinating that dance was kind of your originating sport. Like, have you found that kind of has helped you in any of the other things that you've explored in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Like mountain biking and many other sports, dance, you have to completely immerse yourself. If you don't, you're going to get it wrong. So you're, listening to the music, focusing on what you're doing, and you can drop everything else out of your life away. And it's an active meditation. And that's what I equate mountain biking with now. It's active meditation, because if you stop paying attention, you're not going to go it's not going to end well for you. So recreation and athletics have always been an escape for me. It's a stress reliever, a community builder, and just a way to play and make yourself feel better, as well as creating this community. And I'm fortunate enough to work in a place that this is what we do. We bring people here. We bring people who know how to mountain bike or cross-country ski, or we bring people that want to try it out, want to try something new, and have a safe, fun place where everybody here is passionate about giving everybody a great experience and wanting them to come back to keep doing this, whether it's here or riding somewhere else. So I've been able to take that recreational aspect and use it as a career, which is fantastic.
So how do you wire your brain to go from sport? Because go from sport to sport, right? So is there, you talked about when you started mountain biking, you were terrified to put your feet on the bike, right? Or to get your body on a bike. How do you, what drives you to just try it? And is there a method that you take to try something different?
First of all, it's interest. And I think we all need to challenge ourselves to go out of our comfort zone And when you're surrounded by people that are doing this and having a great time, it's really easy to do that because you have so many cheerleaders. I have been lucky enough to be surrounded by experts in the field and supportive peers and coworkers. And I've been able to take that feeling, and now that's what I do for everybody else. So I'll introduce people to the sport, and really everybody can do it. And we have to give ourselves permission to not be amazing, right? As competitive creatures, right? We don't want to look like an idiot. We have some pride that we have to swallow. And when you're surrounded by people that are going fast, getting lots of air under their bikes, and you're scared to hit the brakes, it is intimidating. So I really encourage people to just spend time and go at your own pace. And that's probably one of the important things, getting people out and active with new activities, is they need to have the grace to understand that they're not going to be a professional right away, and they're not going to be as good as their neighbor, and they don't have to be. They only have to be as good as they need to be. And the more time they put into it, the more comfortable they're going to feel, the better they're going to do.
Anything else, right?
And I'm really, really passionate about it.
Well,
exactly.
Well, and you must see that all the time with a lot of the newbies that come to your facility, right? Because the programming and the types of things that you put out there are, geared towards your newbies right up to your kind of elite riders, which is kind of cool. Like, that's something really unique about your facility, right? Where you put out the programs for people to get comfortable, and you see generations. We came to your 4-hour mountain bike relay, and the range of people, you saw mothers and daughters and people who have never been on bikes before, right up to women who came with their buddies who had never ridden, and they are expert riders. Like, it's such a cool community vibe.
It is. And I really find that the community of mountain bikers in general are very supportive of each other. And I know Charlotte can speak to this as well, is, at events like that, there is that competitive edge when you're on course, and you do want to do the best that you can do. But there's also the, cheering on of the other people. And you hear about this, the ladies that were new to mountain biking that jumped into this 4-hour women's relay. And, everybody's cheering them on. It doesn't matter whether, against them or in a different category or same category. You want everybody to succeed. And with a lot of the events that we have here, they are grassroots, community-based. And I've seen, athletes that are at the top of their game at their age category in the it's a grassroots race, so it doesn't count for points. But, they're walking at the bush with a little kid who, whose chain broke while they were on the race course. So they completely forfeit the race to help these little kids that are out there. And that's the stuff that makes it special. And that's the reason why we do what we do, is to have this community base and have a safe place for these families to grow.
Well, and Charlotte, maybe you can speak to that, because you grew up on, as you said, two wheels, right? So what's your background, and how has that helped you try to create communities similar to the ones you experienced as a kid for other people who have never gotten on a bike before?
So I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, so a family of mountain bikers. I wouldn't say I necessarily I obviously had a choice getting into the sport, but by being the youngest, I was already at events anyways. So when it was my turn to start competing, I was like, of course I'm going to jump into it. I've been watching this for the last handful of years. So back then it felt like there wasn't really a lot of opportunities to get into mountain biking unless you were competing. So for me, once I stepped away from the competitive.
Does it?
Yeah.
It doesn't to me. I mean, think about, you could ride your bike around the neighborhood, but how many forests did you have near you as a kid growing up, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
interesting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no. That's...
Right. Just the popularity of the sport over just the last 10 years, and having professional trail building committees and trail maintenance and things like that. So just the accessibility to the sport. So kind of like when I got into it in like the early 2000s, the late 90s. Like there just wasn't really a lot of like recreational opportunities around it. It was very like competitive driven. So when I made the decision to step back from racing, when I was moving up into the elite category, when I was 20. So I took a pause and I took a year off, and from there it spawned starting like a women's only club. And I was like, hey, like there's totally other ways to get people into the sport. And I realized like how much more I just enjoyed riding my bike and how much I wanted to ride my bike, but not race my bike. So I was like, okay, there's something here. I got to do something here and try to build the community in that aspect.
Well, what's cool about that is you had that joy for riding in you. And so now it's become a life thing, right? So you can, I mean, I'm sure your life competing at some point, you stop competing. Yeah. You age out of it and you go into something different, right? So, I mean, at your point, I think you took your skills of, you know, patience and leadership and community and funneled those into building community and bringing more people into the sport. So maybe tell us a little bit about mini adventures and what that is and how you got people, you know, kind of moving on their bikes and more comfortable being on their bikes.
So Mini Adventures Mountain Bike Experiences is my business that I founded, own, and operate. Just a quick side story. So Mini comes from a nickname
Smallest
I had growing up because I'm the baby.
I wondered about that. Interesting.
I got called Mini Batty. So that's where Mini comes from. So I started the company 4 years ago. The first year I did it, it was super passion project driven, you know, testing the waters, putting my toes in the waters a little bit. So previously running an all women's mountain bike club with the Trek Toronto and Barrie store. Just everything has kind of a shelf life a little bit. So that sort of faded out. I was living in Collingwood and there was a huge community of cyclists already there. But I wanted to find a way to bring the women together. So I just started with like some weekly rides and doing, you know, the odd little lesson here and there. And it really just started to snowball from there. I got just like some good experience under my belt. I got all my like coaching certifications and instructing certifications. In the process, I worked at the bike park and the bike school at Blue for a few years. I traveled all across North America in my off seasons to coach and volunteer with other companies and events to continue growing my experience as like from the coaching side of it. And like last year or like, so year 2, it just turned into kind of doing some more smaller events, some more lessons. Year 3. So last year, I was able to actually turn it into like my full-time
gig
thing, I guess.
So awesome.
And same thing for this year. So like
it's play,
full-time
it's
job,
play,
if you will.
It's awesome.
So with that, I'm like, what's the saying? It's like, if you love what you do, you never work a day
that's
in your life or
totally my motto too. My dad used to say that all the time. If you're thinking about retirement, you're not in the right job. You should be loving what you're doing, right? And to be able to play in what you do, I'm sure there's lots of hard work involved. Like you were talking about the hours and hours you put into training, right? What kinds of kinds of trends are you finding in people that are wanting to get into the sport now, or even people who are in the sport already, given all this, you know, the stuff that's happening with COVID and the shutdown and all of that stuff?
Yeah. So this year, obviously, the mountain bike industry has been very different in that it's exploded. I think the cycling industry as a whole has exploded. It's an easy opportunity for people to get outside and be active, be in the forest, and it's an activity you can do solo as well. So obviously, just with everything going on, it's, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to pull that bike out of the shed that I haven't.
I have one of those.
And,
I have one of those. You know, it's 30 years old.
Well, I would say and solo, but maybe you want to be in it. Like I am a triathlete and I use a mountain bike. I know in my races, but I always say I do. Excuse me, I do cycle often on my own, but I know that's not probably the smartest thing, but. What I love, and I hear your story, and Tina and I, it's so great because part of what I love about Tri is the community. Just it's exactly the same, right? Yeah. And meeting people who just want to enjoy sport, right? And so I love.
Are most people that are are they riding like what kind of bikes?
Road bikes or tri bikes.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
so I love that you're taking.
People laugh,
I love
people
that you're
laugh at
clearing
me.
your
I love it when I'm coming through the bike transition and people literally people have looked at me and gone, "So you're riding that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." Yeah, it's a lot heavier than your bike. Yeah, it's a lot heavier than your bike, and so am I. So I'll see you on the downhill, and I'll go by you then. You might go by me on the up, but I'll come by you on the down.
I love it. I love it. So is tri mostly in the forest?
No, they're all different. There's all different ones that you can do, but it's I was gonna say it's funny. Arienne and I had we were together for their Women's Day last year, and they had outdoor the mountain bikes going in the winter. And initially I was like, ooh, and then I was like, no.
I totally want to try that.
Your curiosity takes over, right? And you're like, no, actually that would be really fun, and it was awesome. Yeah. And it's such an amazing place.
So what do people generally do with those winter bikes? Are you just using your same bike with bigger tires, or are you actually buying a different frame, Arienne? Is that?
No, so the fat bikes are a different frame because the tires are that much longer. So they run a bit of lower pressure, so they don't sink into the snow as much. In the last few years, we have really had to ramp up our rental fleet with the fat bikes. Last year, we introduced a fat bike specific trail for weekends. Because we have so many skiers here that, have to sort of share the love between the fat bikers and the skiers. But they're so popular, and even people in the summer want to try them out and give them a ride. And it's a completely different feel. Your legs are spinning faster, you're going a little bit slower. So if you're that person who loves to shred the trails on your mountain bike, and you want to try fat biking, you got to pause, you got to breathe. You have to try to just enjoy surrounding and enjoy spinning.
So what's the downhill like on a what's the downhill like on a fat bike? Are you sliding right down, or what's that look like?
Well, it's a little bit cloud-like because your tires are so big and the pressure is a little bit less. So you're just kind of rolling and floating over top of whatever's underneath you. They're definitely not a technical ride, but for those people that really want to get out in mud or sand or the snow in the winter, the fat bike definitely is a great activity to do. Cycling generally is gentler on your knees. So people that can't ski anymore, for instance, might go that avenue as well, or people that just are not into running, winter, summer, or any other season, is something else to do. Obviously, you have to dress armor, big mitts, big gloves, that kind of thing. I'm a multi-activity advocate, so I do like changing up the seasons a little bit. And, I love skiing. It's actually my main passion is Nordic skiing. So I do prefer to stay on the planks in the winter, but fat biking is a lot of fun and just something different. And you can, get out with a group of people and just go play in the snow.
I think it's actually us talking today is so perfect. I was saying to Tina, because I don't know if you've had a chance to drive around too much, but the leaves are starting to be so beautiful. I do think there are a lot of people who have rediscovered cycling this summer through COVID. Oh, yeah. We're seeing some trends for COVID going back up. It's something that we can be outside and continue to do. And I'm a big fan of let's stretch this summer out as far as we can. But it's such a great time of year to cycle and continue to enjoy the sport, meet people, keep pulling people in. This is my voice, but we're looking down the nose of maybe having to hole in a little bit again. So I think get out, and I think the two businesses that you guys are running are amazing because there is that opportunity to connect, and you both feel the benefit of connecting women, which we love, of course, because we're always trying to engage women of all different ages. And it is approachable. There are different levels. You can go right from super competitive to folks who look at a bike and go, oh, I'm not so sure, but they have that curiosity to try, right? Now's the time. Why not?
Well, and to that point, I think, Lisa, it's a really great point. Charlotte and Arienne, you guys both run programs for women whether it's individual coaching or, some of the things that you're doing over at the facility. Are you finding that what's the reason for having women-specific programming as opposed to just the general co-ed when you're, talking to newbies or developing skill?
We do a lot of private lessons as well as our women's clinic. And there are many women that have no problem running co-ed clinics, and there are about 50% women that come into those. But I get a lot of women that are maybe new to the sport and their partners ride, and they've tried going for a ride with their partner. And anybody's ever done lessons or tried to teach their partners how to do something or their children how to do something, I know that has necessarily gone great for me. So we find a lot of women that come in that really want to learn to do this so they can go out with their partners and have fun, but their partner's not a great instructor. So it's a way for them to feel, they're not intimidated, and there's no pressure to go faster because they're not just going on a trail ride. We do focus on skills with a little bit of trail riding, but it's just about getting comfortable on your bike and learning your body position without that push to put on the kilometers and to put in the hour-and-a-half long ride and keep up with the other people in the group.
Well, you have a really cool, sorry, I was interrupted. You have a really cool, almost playground out front at Hardwood, where you can kind of learn how to manage the terrain on these man-made, talk a little bit about the obstacles. Exactly.
Yeah, so we have a set of features, and we actually have a few spread out in our open areas so that there's just a bit of open air. There's an escape route if you panic last minute to go around, and we really have the opportunity to stand back and assess body position, speed, and work in an open area where your follow through is just flat ground. And there's, you're not worried about what's coming next and around the corner. So we can really micro manage what the person is doing when they're on their bike. It makes for a great instruction because then we spend a lot of time working on skills, and then we can take them on trail as well. And because our trails are so varied here, we can take that intermediate rider to do some tight corners, some rooty descents and climbs, or we can take somebody on a fairly open, windy trail that doesn't have a lot of roots, rocks, and things like that, and just get them used to being in the single track and winding their way, navigating through the single track as well. So it really does make for a great opportunity for safe learning, comfortable learning, and there is something for everybody, which is great. And I'm fortunate enough to have a really strong set of instructors. Charlotte has come in occasionally for me in the past. But and I have some people in as well that are really knowledgeable and can take the guests or clients that come out and make them feel comfortable and really focus on what they come to learn. And this year, a huge upsurge intermediate riders coming in for lesson. I'm wanting to go over those bigger obstacles, those drops, the jumps, it's really interesting to see that trend, that it's not just new people trying to get outside. We get a lot of that as a business, but in terms of my private lessons, the intermediate riders are coming out to get a little bit more technical. I think that people are realizing they want to go hit the harder trails out there and feel comfortable with as they're getting back into the sport.
And they have the time to do it. Yeah, well, they also have the time to do it, right? We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be back in a few minutes, so hang tight because we want to talk to Charlotte a bit more about some of the things that are happening in her space as it relates to all these great schools that she's running. So,
hey everybody, Bill here with Market Brewing, and yes, it's been some weird times, but at Market Brewing, whether you're coming in for a beer to go or to hang out in our tap room or on the patio, we've done everything we can to make sure it's comfortable for you with safety. in mind. Hey, if you're into the beers, that's probably one of the reasons you're coming by. Our brewers have done an excellent job of keeping up with cool new weekly releases and an eclectic mix and nice variety of delicious fresh beers. We're also making sanitizer on site as well, which was commended by the Ontario government to help out our community and help other businesses get started and get back in action. On top of that, if you come on by, we always have some fun events to look forward to. On Tuesdays, we do trivia. Thursdays, bingo. Friday, our local music series with Snap. And on Saturday, we have live music during the afternoon as well. And we know not everybody is comfortable coming out to these public events when we're open. So on Sundays, we're dedicating them to smaller private reservations. You can book a birthday, retirement, wedding, shower, baby shower, you name it. Any of those important life events, you can do them in the Market Brewing Tap Room. And with that being said, you can always expect to find a cool food truck or chef there. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you can bring in your own food. You can come with your dog. The sky's the limit. Our priority, though, is safety for our guests. And then we're going to have some fun times ahead. We look forward to seeing you in the tap room.
Okay, we are back. And on our break, Lisa was talking about how she almost hit a mouse or a rat or something.
I don't even know what it was. In the middle of nowhere at 7 o'clock in the morning, yes, by myself. Yeah.
So the lesson learned is don't ride your bike
by yourself.
Especially if you're going long distances. Yeah. So Charlotte, we were jumping in to ask you about your experience with people training and, how patient are they through this whole skills piece, and how do you make it fun so that, they want to go and get their kilometers. I know when I play hockey and it's kind of like, okay, get me through the drills because I have to do them, but I really just want to go out and play the game. So what does that look like for you when you're training people?
So the big thing is managing expectation. So basically when anybody comes into a skills lesson, whether it's a private lesson or a group or a clinic, I always like to set the expectation in that it's kind of a 50-50 split in terms of, we're going to do some dry land skills and drills. We're going to talk a little bit of theory. We're going to put that into practice in like a very safe, controlled environment. And then the goal is to take those skills and put them into practical application. So through the trail ride for the second half. The big thing I notice is a lot of people don't realize how tired they get when they're really mentally engaged. Mm-hmm. So I always, in the process of registering my clients, I always try to itemize. I say, like, pick 2 things that is your goal for this lesson or session or ride or whatever it is. Because realistically, we can only mentally handle taking in like 1 to max 3 things in a session. So, if you get a rider coming in saying, hey, I want to learn how to do X, Y, Z and ABC and all this. And I'm like, okay, well, let's, take it back a step. Let's focus in on like 1 or 2 things so that we can do that really well, learn it well, and then implement it well. So just setting the expectation kind of before they even finish registering for the session. And then, just reminding people when we see each other face to face, like, hey, today's not about the physical miles, it's about kind of the mental miles. And then like it's the skills focus. So, utilize the time with me to practice and get the feedback that you need to start implementing and kind of make that muscle memory and the habit of those skills. Yeah. And then I'm like, you can go out and ride and, crush your miles and your heart rate, whatever you need to do on your own kind of thing. So that's the other thing too, is like what we cover in a session. It's like, okay, just because we spent 2 hours or 3 hours working on this doesn't mean you're done. It's an ongoing practice by all means. And I love using the analogy of like yoga is actually called a yoga practice because you're never perfect at what you're doing. You're always practicing and bettering and progressing. And I'm like, mountain biking really is the same thing. And I've been in the sport well over 20 years. I've competed for 10 years. I've done cross country, enduro, downhill. I've traveled all over the world riding my bike. I'm still not perfect. And I still have things that I'm working on. And I have my mental blocks that I'm trying to overcome and physical obstacles and same thing. So I really like looking at it. It's practice makes progress. So.
It's funny, you said expectations in my mind. I was like, it's almost like setting an intention as you go into a yoga. So it's funny that we're on the same page. Yeah, very cool.
Well, and you know what?
I do a lot of yoga. So
yeah. Oh, well, you know what? I was going to ask you what your other complementary thing is that you do, because I know, I'm biking. Or sorry, I am biking, but I haven't been out on the trails, which I am going to get out and do again. I decided last year when I came to your 4-hour relay that I'm going to get out there and I'm going to bring a team of people. I'll bring Lisa with her big fat tires because my bike is like 30 years old. I got the old style.
Oh, so it's fine.
Can we rent bikes Can we rent bikes at Hardwood, or are they? Do you have to bring your own?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So
we have quite a few rentals, and we're actually looking at expanding our rental fleet. The last 3 weekends, actually, September weekends have been so busy with rentals. We've almost sold out of rentals every day that the weather's been good. And that's rare. So that just shows you how many people are trying to get out of the city and get into the forest and get active.
The danger of trying to rental. Oh, I'm getting some feedback on your line. The danger, I would assume, of renting is that then you realize how bad your own bike is.
No,
I love mine. We've gone out bike shopping, and I don't want to give mine up. It's like it's a part of it was so much a part of my life. It almost feels like a bit of an appendage. But I think if I try, it's like with skiing, right? You try a demo pair, you're like, man, like my skis aren't even that old and these are so cool. So
I just inherited my son's giant bike. So I've gone from a mountain bike that I'll be doing races in to just another form of mountain bike that's just a little bit
nicer. That's awesome.
We rented bikes, and this is something that we rented a trailer, packed all the kids, all of our bikes in the back of a trailer, and drove up to Collingwood and we went from Blue to Thornbury.
That's great.
It's totally flat.
That's
it was
so
the easy ride, but it was accessible for all of the kids, right?
Right.
So it was fun.
That's fun. That's awesome.
Good old Georgian Trail.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to someone who lives out in Wasaga Beach, and she was telling me that I don't know if you know them, Charlotte, because you've Collingwood has been your neck of the woods for a while, but there's a couple of young girls who actually rode up and down scenic mountain trail, whatever that's called, up and down enough times to equate to climbing Everest.
I don't know the story personally, but I've seen it pop up.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw that pop up on Instagram? Yeah, she's just a young.
I don't think I'll do that.
She trained out of here. Her dad is the head coach of the Hardwood team.
Oh.
Well, look at that. That's amazing. So she trained out of there. And was it something was that her goal all along, or was it just what was her goal all along? Was it to be able to do that kind of thing, or just to gain some skill, or what was?
No, I'm not sure how she heard about this challenge. Her parents have been in the competitive mountain bike scene as long as I've known them, which has been about 20 years. And she and her sister are the youngest of 5 kids, and their older brother, Gunnar Holmgren, is quite a phenom on the mountain bike, and he competes for Canada. And so it seems like the oldest and then the 2 youngest girls, they still ride competitively. And Ava missed a cross race last week, and I didn't know why. I saw the article, so it didn't really make a lot of noise about it. But I mean, to be 15 years old and to challenge yourself, and there I think was a little bit of fundraising involved with this, and to go out and prove your mind over muscle to do that is just so inspiring. And what were you doing when you were 15? I certainly wasn't doing that kind of
I have a feeling that Charlotte was doing some crazy things at 15.
I was just going to say, Charlotte, does this resonate with you? It sounds just like your home. Yeah.
What were you doing at 15, Charlotte?
15 would have been the year that I started working with a professional cycling coach. So not necessarily climbing Everest, but definitely logging big miles, competing across North America. So similar along those lines. Yeah.
She had 1 extra sibling compared to you.
Yeah, four's a household. But 5, being the youngest of 5.
I don't know, twins, so does that really count?
There's something special about twins. I'm just saying, because Lisa and I are both twins. So there's something
Right.
special about being in the twin mix. Yeah. And actually our co-founder, Caroline Wiley, is a twin too. So we have this strange twin thing happening.
Yeah, twin vibe.
Yeah, twin vibe. So COVID kind of shut everything down. I'm sure. I mean, I know we were all kind of out of sorts. Like, what the heck do we do now? You can't even get outdoors because the numbers are limited. Like, what were you guys doing during that time frame to kind of pivot your businesses? And then we'll talk a little bit about what you were doing individually.
It was
as people,
literally the
saying.
weekend after we were up for the Ladies' Day at
It was
Hardwood.
the weekend
It was the
after.
weekend after
Yeah.
that COVID started shutting everything down.
Yeah. So we had just had you guys up for the Solomon Women's, and we did the outdoor yoga, the Nordic skiing, the snowshoeing, the fat biking, and it was amazing. That was the
So
first time
fun.
we had done that. We had so much fun, and I was just starting to have conversations and gear up about doing a warm season. So my goal was early September to do some, obviously in the warmer months, and they'll shut down. So Hardwood actually closed. The entire staff was furloughed, and we were off for 9 weeks. We were no work, doors were locked, nobody came in. It was a big hit to the business because we all of our events were being canceled, our programs, we didn't know what was happening. And as somebody who's really active, and I thrive on busy and always looking for the next event and the next thing, that was really hard. And I heard somebody say, I'm a trust board, and I truly believe that is a thing. And I'm lucky. I live in the country, so I was able to go for long walks and trail runs. And once the weather got a little bit warmer, I got on my road bike, so I was able to bend my legs a little bit, keep myself sane. But I really miss that community. Hardwood Ski and Bike is a family. Staff is part of my family, and that was really, really hard being cut off because I have 2 teenagers at home that don't want to spend time with me.
I can relate. Yeah. That's awesome. How about you, Charlotte? What did COVID, what this whole shutdown, how did it impact you, and what kinds of things were you doing during shutdown?
So I joke, I call myself a snowbird. I'm probably one of the youngest snowbirds out there right now. So I usually go down south come the new year until my season kicks off like late April. So I was in Arizona. We had just had the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival, which is like one of my favorite weekends of the year. Because like my community and my family in the sport, we're spread out across North America. So it's like the one weekend a year I get to see all my people throughout the continent. So we just got through that event. I was coaching a women's camp for a friend of mine the following weekend, and we just got through that as well. So going into that weekend coaching, we had people still flying in from all over the US for this camp in Sedona. And everybody was like, should we be here? Blah, nobody really knew kind of what was right, what was wrong, and what to do. And then, I went into that weekend I'm just going to stay in my van and I'm going to hide out in the desert for,
you wish you could have just stayed there.
Oh, that sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, you wish you could have stayed there. We had a friend who was at the top of the mountains in BC. She was heli-skiing, and we were so envious because she was for 2 weeks, you couldn't even get her. I think you had to use a satellite phone. We're like, isn't that the ideal place to just be for the next 9 months?
No idea. No idea what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So on the Monday, obviously the call came out, if you're out of country, it's time to come home.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend's a firefighter, so he works through the winter. He kind of does 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So he was home through all of that, and he was like, okay, you got to come home. You can't hide out. I want you to come home. I can't come back to see you.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine, I'll come home. So I came home. So then obviously I had to isolate for 2 weeks when I got home because I had been out of country. But I was chuckling through all of it because I'm I was literally in a van in the desert. I was the
best place to be.
And I still had to isolate when I came home. So it was just kind of a little chuckle there. But Yeah, so coming home was tough because I'm not used to being home during the winters, especially through like our transitions from like, fall into winter and winter into spring. So I just really struggle. Like, well, I can motivate myself to get outside, and I do get outside every day, but I'm a creature of the sun. So I find it really difficult for myself, like mentally, when it's just so kind of gray being home, and you don't realize how gray it is here until you've been away.
Well, in the
Like,
sun, in the desert.
And in Arizona.
But you really did some work in pulling your community together, right? Because I'm sure the hard part around all of this for all of us is the fact that we're all, not only are we separated from the physical activity we love to do, but with that comes the community that you miss, right? So you did some really cool things over COVID to kind of pull your peeps together. What did that look like?
Yeah, so this year my business expanded a bit. So I brought on a full-time coach. Her name's Vanessa. So she just lives locally here in Toronto, about an hour from me. So I'm like an entrepreneur by spirit. So I'm like, I don't have idle hands. I'm always like, whenever I have downtime, I'm on my computer, I'm doing research. I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks about like business and how to better your business. And I was fortunate. I had found a podcast that just really spoke to kind of what I'm doing with my business and how I run my business. So that kind of just lit the fire. Like I found it at the right time when it was critical to pivot with everything going on. So I had like a sit down with my girl, Vanessa, and I was like, okay, what can we keep doing to keep the community together, to keep people excited about their bikes, but also doing it safely. So we launched actually two things. So Outspoken with Mini Adventures for 10 weeks, I believe, through the spring. So late March into May. Every week we just did like an online Zoom meetup. And it was like, if you want to have a beer, like have a beer, like just a social kind of thing, but it was just an open conversation to chat all things mountain biking. So we got a lot of like hard, serious questions about skills and equipment, maybe stories, struggles, wins, things like that. So it was just really good conversation and keep people connected virtually that way. And then the second thing that we did for 9 weeks, every Friday at noon. So because I was at my parents' house, I had my mom hold my phone for an hour outside in the cold. And I was just calling them like free online mountain bike skills clinics. So every Friday for an hour, I had different skills I would cover, and I would break it down. I would run it. I basically ran a clinic how I would if you were in person with me. But then I tailored all the skills and the exercises around it to stuff that you could work on, like in your driveway, in your backyard, on your street, if you had like a park that you were still able to go to nearby. So just to keep people like engaged, thinking about their bikes, working on their skills, but obviously doing it safely and following all the restrictions that we had in place.
Okay, so that is so cool. Fun. Can people still access that content? Where can they see some of those videos?
Yeah. So I saved all the videos. I posted it to my YouTube channel, which is just Mini Adventures. I think it still lives on my Instagram and my Facebook somewhere, but YouTube's probably the easiest place to find.
So that's Mini Adventures with 2 I's. So MINII Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to check that out. I think that's awesome. That's great.
I think you've both done a really amazing job. That's an amazing story. And for Hardwood, of course, I follow you because I've experienced the space and discovered it last year for the first time, amazingly enough. You've done a great job of communicating with your members. And Tina and I have done and hosted quite a few workshops through COVID to help sport organizations with how to keep the momentum going in their sport. Some people missed seasons completely. And communication is absolutely the cornerstone, so you guys have done an amazing job. And it's that connection, like connectivity, which is such a simple word, but so powerful for everybody.
Absolutely.
But it's the thing that keeps us running, right? Physically, literally.
So Charlotte, what has been you've been so deep into coaching and you do a lot of private one-to-one. Like, what has been your biggest aha moment as you've kind of worked through this journey of entrepreneurship and working with people one-on-one?
An aha moment. I Did we talk about this the other day?
We did not, but I'm interested in all the people you've met. It could be just like, have you met somebody who's made a real impression on you? Have you changed the way you approach things? Because obviously, as you coach people, you learn more things about what motivates people and how to coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anybody in particular that's had a big influence on what you're doing as a business or as a person impacting people's lives? Or is there a specific moment in time that's really helped you hone what you're doing right now?
I mean, everything about my job is extremely fulfilling. So just being able to have come in coaching this summer I was so grateful for. Like kind of like what Arienne was saying about, you get excited for all these events and it's a big high. So you get like all this energy and this good, good vibes happening around it. So to not have those, it is like, it's a downer. It's like a very, very disappointing. So just being able to like return to coaching for me was huge. When I was able to return to running my, so I have a School of Dirt and a School of Rock and Logs program that I run.
Love that.
The School of Dirt being beginner, and the School of Rock and Logs being the intermediate. So I think the two aha moments that I had was, again, everything that I do about my business is to try to build community. So my principles being gather, motivate, ride. So my first School of Dirt group that I had 3 ladies that they just like hit it off, like the 3 of them. So they, like in between our sessions, the school was 8 weeks. So in between, like they were telling me about how they got together, went and rode here and were riding there, and they were doing their own thing in between the sessions.
That's awesome.
So that made me was over the moon to hear about. And then just with those programs graduating, so I was with those students for 8 weeks, and usually my weeknight programs, I do 6 weeks. I've just been kind of experimenting with them. So this year I tried 8 weeks. It's a long time to spend with people. Yeah. And you really over 8 weeks, you really get to know the rider as a person. So that, each week they were coming back with what did you get up to this week? And there was a lot of personal involvement with that. So it was really just touching at the end of the 8 weeks to be I'm not going to see you guys for a while now kind of thing. It was it was obviously an aha and a highlight moment, just how much I had impacted their lives and helped them just genuinely keep building their safety and confidence on the bike and trails.
And find their people, really right?
I was oh.
Well, yeah, and you also help them find their peeps. And who knows? Maybe you'll go out for a ride with them at some point, or you'll see them on the trail.
I actually have a few of them sign up. So I ended up doing a 4-week version of those schools for September.
Yeah.
And I had a handful of them sign up again because they're we don't want to be done.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so great. Yeah. Well, we're going to do a quick wind up of our show. We're really appreciative that you guys have come out and talked to us about your passion and, just some thoughts, some leading thoughts around what your passion is in terms of physical activity. I know we talked a lot about mountain biking, but what is it about your sport that will keep you going into the fall despite whatever COVID throws at us? Yeah, and how do you plan to kind of manage the winter season through it? So, are you going to, Charlotte, will you move into, I'm assuming you're going to have to stay here. Will you move into some outdoor biking, or what are your plans?
She's going to get a fat bike.
Yeah, you're going to try fat biking? Have you done that?
Charlotte should come cross-country skiing.
Oh, you're going to try cross-country skiing?
Charlotte needs to come skiing.
Arienne's going to recruit her.
Are you there, Charlotte?
Yeah, sorry, it cut out on my part. I usually do a lot of snowshoeing, but this year I'm I might just have to give cross-country skiing a try.
That's awesome.
I come from so many years of being on a snowboard or a bike where you're on one piece of equipment, so your feet and body all working uniformly. So I'm skis and having my legs work independently. I'm I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it.
My
It'll
bet,
be a challenge.
my bet is that you will be able to do it.
Yeah, you got to
I'm
wear a
sure.
GoPro for that. That's going to be good.
Yeah, let's see the GoPro version of it. I love it. Arienne, you can stand behind while she's going. We can get a look. How about you, Arienne? What are your plans? What are your plans for the winter? Have you ever done biathlon at Hardwood? I know you offer that up.
Yeah, we do have biathlon. Right now we are just in our winter planning. The ski resorts as a whole are still working towards what their winter plan is. And, the hope is that the ski resorts as a whole will be able to offer a fairly uniform plan for the winter months. As a Nordic resort, we have the benefit of not having chairlift to do this, but it's indoor capacity that we're working on. So offering things like biathlon and especially the adult content, we're still not sure what we're going to be doing. Last year, we launched a biathlon program, which is ski training as well as training aerials. We don't have a 22 range at this point. It is something we are working towards, but right now we're just working with air rifles, and the amount of interest from adults to get into this and people that are really curious to put this package together. So you get the marksmanship included with the athleticism of skate skiing. And Charlotte, I am going to recommend you give skate skiing.
Oh, it's hard, but it's so
because
fun.
you enjoy the speed. You'll enjoy that a little bit better than classic.
Are those the shorter skis, Arienne? Those are the shorter, like skates, basically.
So they're a little bit shorter. Your poles are actually longer, so you do need different equipment for both classic and skate, which we rent loads here. And right now, the tentative plan is that we will have our rentals available. For skiing, as well as our fat bike rentals. So if you want to keep those cycling legs going, but the wheels are all about keeping active no matter what the weather is. And the Europeans have a saying: there is no bad weather, there's only bad clothing. So the people that are enjoying being outside need to dress a little warmer.
Charlotte, you need to bring that into your mindset.
Dropping those layers.
Yeah, love it. Well, you've got some good clothing shops on your facility too. So if you show up wearing bad clothing, that's awesome. So are you going to be out on the trails then, Arienne? Is that your plan for the winter?
Absolutely. I make a point of getting out. I'm like this time of year, I'm riding on site a couple days a week. And in the winter, I'm on my skis. Like I said at the beginning, I actually originated my passion on skis, and it's my number one sport, but we don't have snow 12 months a year. So balancing it out with cycling and mountain biking. And I get to enjoy the same forest and trails all year long in a different capacity. And it's good to work the different muscles a little bit.
Sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah,
we look forward to seeing you out on the trails. And I'm going to try one of those schools, I think, and I'm going to get out to your next 4-hour relay. Hopefully, that'll be back on next year, Arienne.
Absolutely. Pulse Racing was able to run the 8-hour challenge safely and spaced out. Here, it just wrapped up actually. So we're hoping that Pulse Racing and offer the women's relay, because it is on the uptake, even if it's a slightly different format. You know what will work, and just on what the Ontario Association sanctions for the spring season. But hopefully our events will be in the upswing once again, and we'd love to have a See What She Can Do team.
Yes, Lisa's on. Lisa's 5'8" and 5'10", and she's got long legs, so she can lead the pack. I'll be riding in her backdraft.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks, ladies. It was fabulous connecting. Have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.